Prince Bojji is born to giant parents but is still the smallest person to ever walk the kingdom of Bos. He is weak, deaf, and naive but still holds the biggest courage to walk with his head held high. His day goes about running around the field and playing with the animals that roam the land of his father. Because of his handicaps, Bojji doesn't play with other children his age and younger because there may be misunderstandings between the two parties, and Bojji is usually a victim to the people's ridicule. While going about his day, he meets a shadow creature called Cage who instantly holds him at knife point in an attempt to steal his clothes. Bojji, after first struggling to understand Cage, reads his lips and starts to carry out the orders given to him by Cage. Cage tells him to take off his clothes and to do it tomorrow at the same spot. When Bojji does so unhesitant, the next day, Bojji goes to meet Cage at the spot agreed while wearing more clothes so that Cage can rob him off them. Cage expresses that Bojji is a dimwit for nonchalantly doing all that he is told. Bojji then tells him that he appreciates his company and that he only cares for it, and the two become friends. Meeting with Bojji fat and clothes that Cage will take in, going home naked. One day, Bojji takes Cage home and gets confronted by his stepmother, Queen Hilling, who ridicules him even more for always coming back home naked. She asks Bojji to get dressed and go see his father. While dressing, Bojji cries through himself for all the ridicule he has received for the day but quickly puts on a brave face, and Cage sees him. Cage feels sorry for him and starts to emotionally grow closer to and fonder of him. Bojji heads to see his father, King Bos, who ranks at the 7th place on the ranking system. The king tells Bojji that he must become strong enough to rule his kingdom and orders Damas to teach him his swordsmanship. Damas accepts and goes to do just that. While in training, Bojji's young half-brother, who is bigger and well-developed, Prince Data, appears to challenge Damas. They spar as Bojji admires both Damas and Data. Damas loses to Data, whose strength he likens to that of King Bos, and Bojji takes his place to defend him with his own sword. The match is announced in the house, and everyone interested comes to watch it play out. Data attacks first, but Bojji dodges countless times until he is able to counterattack by landing his soft blow on Data's head, impressing everyone watching and in doubt, including Cage, who cheers him on every time Bojji dodges and softly counterattacks Data. Data gets mad. Dime stops them and signs to Bojji, who stops dodging altogether and gets beat up by Data while he cries mid-match. It continues to get brutal for Bojji until Apia, a sword of the king who has been watching from the roof, throws a spear that stops the fight, making Data the winner of the match. Bojji sustains wounds from the match and gets bedridden and covered in bandages. He remembers the words Dime signed to him before he stopped dodging Dada's attacks, that his way of fighting is not the swordsmanship of a king, and he starts to crawl out of bed to a normal-sized sword and tries to pick it up. He fails to pick it up as he is too small and doesn't have the strength to. He cries his eyes out until Cage throws a coin at him. He turns around to face Cage but wipes his tears away and acts brave so as not to embarrass himself to Cage. Cage tells him he has nothing to be ashamed of and that his swordsmanship is uniquely his own to cut the embarrassment short. Bojji shows Cage where his clothes are, and Cage tells him that no more will he be taking anything from him because he is on his side from then on. Cage stays by Bojji's side while Bojji sleeps, and when he is about to leave, someone comes into the room. She is shown by the feet and her dress at her ankles that she is a woman, and as Cage is about to think she'll do the worst, she puts her hands above the unconscious Bojji, and they glow a magical green, slowly healing Bojji's injuries. Cage leaves, knowing that Bojji is safe, despite his previous suspicions. He meets Bibin, a snake handler, and Data's swordsmanship teacher, whom Cage had met when he first went to the castle where Bojji lies. Bibin wanted to execute Cage for being a shadow creature belonging to a clan of assassins, but Cage had escaped, and now they meet again. The next day, King Bos dies, and his will is read in front of his corpse. They announce the successor of the throne to be the first prince of the kingdom, Prince Bojji, and this shocks everyone. After Queen Hilling defies the wishes of her late king and rips apart the will, Prince Data is presented as the new king to the kingdom's people. Bojji is hurt by this and runs away to cry his heart out. After confronting Cage again, Bibin goes to tell Bojji that Cage has left for a journey, and they will never see each other again. Bojji goes to seek out Cage on his own. He goes to the snake lair where a giant snake he saved when he was younger called Mitsumoto lives. Mitsumoto tells Bojji that his master, Bibin, has apprehended Cage but let him go on an important journey that he can't tell Bojji, but he also assures him that it is not for the sake of harming him. Bojji remembers how he was chosen to become king but was opposed as he was weak and frail, and how Cage had promised to be by his side but is now on a journey to help him. Bojji sets to follow Cage. He goes to speak with the queen, and she refuses him the journey for the same reasons as always. He then decides to run away by climbing out a window from high up in the castle. The queen comes in just in time before he lets go of the makeshift rope he put together. Doc, the queen's shield, pulls him up, but Bojji struggles, causing the pieces of the ropes to untie and making him fall to the ground. Queen Healing hurries to Bojji and finds him unconscious and starts to groan loudly and glow in a green light, tearing her dress and putting her hands on Bojji to heal his wounds. Bojji remembers her from the night of the match when she went in and healed him while he slept. While she is left alone to rest, Queen Healing remembers her first meeting with Bojji and the struggle she had to go through to build the kind of relationship she has with Bojji. This makes her a little softer, granting Bojji the permission to go on the journey to learn and gain experience and become stronger. She arms him with his teacher, Demas, and an aide for his personal care, Hokiro. Bojji sets off on his journey. The trio first make it to a village where Bojji runs from Hokiro to go have fun, seeing puppets, buying this and that at the market, and sleeping by the fountains. He is later found by Demas and Hokiro without his bag that had all the important things, and Hokiro gets the heat for losing Bojji in the first place. The trio then gets dinner to calm down and think about a way forward. They commence the journey the next day and find Bojji's bag lying on the street with everything intact. They decide to continue on their journey and walk all the plain valleys and dangerous forests. Bojji gets distracted by a butterfly while they're walking, and follows it. He falls into a pit guarded by spears and meets the spearman who owns it. The man kills a wild pig and feasts with Bojji, and they dance together when a creation of new animals happens from the dead one that they're eating. After that, the man explains the process to Bojji and decides he wants to sacrifice him for the creation of more new lives from his. Bojji manages to escape the man and gets together with his company. They set up camp to rest for the night when, while eating, Bojji's meat is stabbed by knives thrown from a distance that the three of them can't detect. In the morning, they see a pack of dogs lying dead on the ground from eating Bojji's stabbed meat. It was poisoned. After burying the dogs, they go to another town that has a hole of fire in the ground called the Gates of Hell, a pit into the underworld. Demas tells Hokiro to find a place for them to rest for the night, and he takes Bojji to see the Gates of Hell. When they get there, Demas pushes Bojji into the fire pit and leaves him there for dead. But Bojji lands safely on the floor of the pit while marveling at how so. Cage appears from his bag, and the two reunite in tears of friendship. Cage tells Bojji that he's been with him from the moment he fell off the window trying to escape to when he wanted to bite into the poisoned meat. He tells him that he was sent to accompany Bojji to meet the man that will make him strong by Bibin, the snake handler, and the journey they are about to take leads them deeper into the underworld to meet this man. They head down toward their destination, but Bojji starts to smell gas, which passes them out. Two men emerge from the smoke and take Bojji and Cage on the back of their riots. They are taken to another kingdom, a kingdom of the underworld. When they come to, they meet the ruler of the kingdom, King Dasa, ranked second in the system. He starts to make fun of Bojji for his shortcomings and the fact that his younger brother is king and not him. He asks about their intentions, and Cage explains that they are there to see a man that can turn an ordinary man into a man of strength fit for a king. King Dasa admits that it's him they're looking for and that he needs to test the skill level of the person he is to train. One of his knights who transported Bojji and Cage to the kingdom stands forward to test Bojji. Bojji is told to land a strike on the knight, who happens to be a captain of the Order of the Underworld, who are famous for their strength and relentlessness. Bojji gives it his all, throwing his soft strikes at the guard who, after realizing the situation, stands with his guard down. Dasa ridicules Bojji one more time for his weakness before Cage defends him again. He tells Dasa that Bojji's strength lies within his ability to dodge attacks precisely. Dasa then tells Bojji to not let the guard hit him, and he doesn't. He dodges the attacks with precision and speed that impresses the knights in the room. And when the knight fighting Bojji stops and admires his speed, they all look to Desa for approval. Desa seems still not impressed. He says Bojji can survive a battle but can't win it as he won't be able to get through his enemy's armor. Even after Cage's persuasion for Desa to teach Bojji, he refuses, saying that he can't refine talent that's non-existent. The duo is ordered to be kicked out by King Desa. Cage encourages Bojji not to give up and that he will become strong if he works hard. Bojji gets motivated to pick up a large rock and fails, and then a smaller rock and fails still. He cries when he realizes that indeed he is absolutely feeble. Cage goes to comfort him. The knight whom Bojji had sparred with tells them to take the letter of recommendation they had brought with them to the rightful person. When they ask who, they're told that it is the king's younger brother, Prince Despat. King Desa was just fooling them to amuse himself and didn't let them know any sooner because he is in rivalry with the spa. The pair thank the knights and head to seek Prince Despat and meet him. They introduce themselves and state the purpose of their visit. Despat asks for compensation for his services, and after Cage pays, he invites them inside. He then reads Bojji's hands and finds that Bojji is weak and doesn't have even a stray vein of strength in his body. But still, he takes him under his wing to train him to his full potential. Bojji and Cage head to bed after familiarizing themselves with the household. Cage sees a glimpse of Bojji posed in front of a rock that has been split in half. The door slowly closes on his face, leaving him wondering about Bojji's progress. Bojji finally completes his training, having fully mastered the way of Despat's training, the Despat arts. Bojji, Cage, and Despat make their way to celebrate Bojji's training completion. But as they head out the door, Cage notices that Bojji has a sword by his side and asks about it. Bojji swings it and impresses Cage. But when they take Onsters get back up and start to beat him up, Bojji doesn't sit it out. Seeing that Despat is ganged up on, he tries to defend, but is easily pushed to the side. He gets back up and after dodging a few attacks, he lands a blow as soft as a daisy on the monster's chin. The monster, after a second, starts losing his balance and passes out, ruling Bojji's punch and knockout. Bojji continues to defend and finally draws his weapon, the needle sword, and dodges a few attacks from the monster in a flash of lightning. On the way home, Despat tells Bojji and Cage to head on first as he needs to attend to something. He quickly runs around the corner to go meet the monsters whom Bojji had just defeated and pays them for their participation in the fight. Later at night, while Bojji and Cage are sitting outside, Cage decides to finally tell Bojji what has been going on in his castle, having been told by Bebin. After hearing all of this, Cage asks Bojji what he will do. Bojji, remembering how Demas had betrayed him, gets scared that if he goes back to his kingdom, this Bey explains to them that it is because criminals of the underworld have infiltrated the kingdom, and King Desa has deployed the knights to take Bojji home and capture the criminals. The knights explain who the criminals are, and Cage continues to encourage Bojji with his newfound strength. Through the disparates, the knights continue to explain to Cage and Bojji how the criminals may have gotten into the kingdom. Cage and Bojji finally arrive at the kingdom to find a criminal there in the castle to help protect Queen Hilling. Bojji and Cage make their way to the castle in haste. Watch this next video.